Okay, let's dive right in. Picture a scenario we can probably all relate to. Imagine you're trying your absolute hardest to stick to a strict, healthy diet, right? You've got this crisp, green salad sitting right in front of you. But literally inches from your plate, in all its greasy, crispy glory, is a massive bucket of fried chicken. It's almost impossible to ignore, isn't it? Well, this perfectly captures the uphill battle of modern learning, because trying to study or pick up a new skill on your smartphone, which is already overflowing with highly addictive, bite-sized entertainment apps, is exactly like trying to eat that salad while staring down the fried chicken. It's just incredibly difficult to stay focused. So in today's Explainer, we're unpacking a truly fascinating case study. We're going to look at how one founder cleverly recognized this exact attention problem and decided, you know what, let's not fight it, let's use it. He took the deeply addictive, time-wasting mechanics of social media and mobile gaming and basically weaponized them for good. He used them as a Trojan horse, smuggling something incredibly valuable, education, inside a package that feels exactly like mindlessly scrolling through your phone. And in doing so, he democratized learning for millions around the globe. Section 1. The paradox of education. To really understand how this happened, we've got to start with the founder Luis von Ahn. He's from Guatemala, a place he actually jokingly refers to as the Mexico of Mexico to give American audiences some context. And growing up there, Luis witnessed a pretty harsh, undeniable reality about how the world's schooling systems actually operate on the ground. You see, the crucial point here is what he calls the paradox of education. Society is constantly telling us that education is the great equalizer, right? The ultimate ladder out of poverty. But Lewis noticed that in reality, it often does the exact opposite. It actually widens the wealth gap, because the system is set up in a way where the rich can simply buy better schooling, better tutors, and just better resources overall, which means they end up making more money. Meanwhile, poorer students lack access to those exact same resources and end up trapped in this endless cycle of poverty. So education, as it currently stands, is often just perpetuating inequality rather than erasing it. Section 2. How foreign languages change lives. To tackle this massive systemic issue, Luis and his co-founder at Carnegie Mellon realized they needed to build a completely free mobile learning platform. Now, considering they were hardcore computer science and math guys, you'd probably expect them to start with, well, equations. But surprisingly, they didn't start with their beloved math. They chose to teach foreign languages. And what's super interesting here is the sheer mind-boggling scale of the global demand they tapped into. Just wrap your head around this number. Right now, there are roughly 2 billion people actively learning a foreign language worldwide. That's both inside and outside of traditional schools. Literally, a massive chunk of the human population was actively looking for exactly what they were building. And this brilliantly highlights their true motivation for picking languages over math. A staggering 80% of those 2 billion people are learning English. Why? Well, think about it. Learning math is a long-term investment. You've got to study math, then physics, then grind through an engineering degree just to start seeing a paycheck from it. But English is totally different. For someone working as, say, a hotel waiter in a developing country, simply learning to speak English can instantly and dramatically boost their daily income. It is an immediate, real-world life changer. Section 3. The Robin Hood model of wealth redistribution. So, the mission was clear. Deliver life-changing English lessons to the whole world. But they hit a monumental business hurdle. How on earth do you provide high-quality education to everyone on their phones, completely for free, and still keep the lights on as a company? Well, it all builds into what is essentially a brilliant modern-day Robin Hood system. They went with a freemium model. Wealthy users in developed nations, places like the US and Canada, pay a subscription fee simply to turn off the ads at the end of their lessons. And that subscription revenue directly funds the entire platform, which means it effectively subsidizes the completely free education for lower-income users in developing countries like Vietnam, Brazil, and Guatemala. It is literally a seamless wealth redistribution system baked right into the company's DNA. Section 4. Competing with social media. Now, delivering this whole experience via smartphones absolutely solved the accessibility issue. After all, building physical schools on every corner of the globe is basically impossible, but practically everybody has a smartphone in their pocket. However, as we touched on at the very beginning, this introduced a massive new antagonist. The platform now had to compete for human attention against literally the most addictive apps ever created by mankind. To fight back against the TikToks and Instagrams of the world, they realized they had to steal the enemy's playbook. They started utilizing these deep, powerful psychological hooks, the most famous one being streaks. A streak is pretty straightforward. It just counts the consecutive days a user logs in. But man, does it manufacture desire. People become absolutely terrified of their counter resetting to zero. And that fear makes the simple act of daily learning feel exactly like the compulsive loop of playing a hit mobile game. Section 5. Psychological Manipulation and the Green Owl. This kind of gamification relies super heavily on psychological manipulation, basically pushing the exact right buttons in the human brain to keep us coming back. And tracking this behavior globally, it has led to some absolutely hilarious behavioral data. Just for a quick funny side note, when you look at the global data, Japan proudly holds the record for the longest average learning streaks on the app. They are incredibly disciplined. While somewhat ironically, and the founder actually points this out with a laugh himself, his own home region of Latin America has the absolute shortest average streaks. But honestly, despite those regional quirks, these psychological streaks work incredibly well all over the world. We are talking about over 3 million people using the app every single day, with tons of them keeping up uninterrupted streaks for well over a year. And get this, it's all supported by an AI that sounds super complex, but actually relies on a wonderfully simple algorithm. It basically calculates, hey, if you were free at 3 p.m. yesterday to do a quick lesson, you're probably going to be free at exactly 3 p.m. today. So it perfectly times your notification exactly 24 hours after your last session. But what happens if you just ignore it? Well, if you ghost the app for 7 straight days, the AI actually stops sending normal reminders. Instead, it drops this brilliant passive-aggressive masterpiece on your screen, essentially saying something like, hey, why do we have to keep reminding you? We don't have time to keep sending these. It completely flips the script, it triggers your guilt, and it is shockingly effective at bringing people rushing right back to the app. And this manipulative little push and pull is entirely personified by their mascot, the famous green owl. The owl's aggressive persistence has actually sparked an entire internet culture. I mean, there are thousands of memes and comedic videos joking about the green owl literally breaking into your house to force you to study your Spanish. But this isn't just a quirky marketing win. It completely proves the immense cultural impact and sheer effectiveness of their engagement strategy. They've literally made learning culturally relevant. And this stat brilliantly highlights the ultimate victory of their Trojan horse strategy. The staggering truth is that right now, there are more people actively learning languages on this single mobile app in the United States than there are in the entire US high school system combined. Just let that sink in for a second. A gamified app on a smartphone is educating more Americans in foreign languages than the entire traditional public school infrastructure. Absolutely wild. Which brings us to our final act, Section 6, the future of education. So where does this unprecedented success in behavioral engineering actually take us next? Because if we can manipulate human psychology to make people want to learn Spanish instead of endlessly scrolling social media, what are the broader implications for society as a whole? The absolute key takeaway here, and honestly the founder's most profound realization, is what we can call the 80% rule. Educational apps don't actually have to be 100% as mindlessly engaging as funny cat videos on TikTok. They really only need to hit about 80% of that engagement level. Why? Because unlike watching random videos, learning actually leaves you feeling fulfilled. That intrinsic human desire to do something meaningful and productive with our time naturally kicks in and makes up that remaining 20% difference. Which leads us straight to a massive, potentially world-changing question. Since foundational subjects like early math, reading, and basic physics also rely heavily on deep, consistent repetition, just like learning vocabulary, can we apply this exact same gamified model to them? Could we literally teach every core subject to anyone on Earth, regardless of their wealth, simply by using the addictive mechanics of their smartphones? That right there is the thrilling horizon of educational technology. It's a future where the smartphone isn't just a distraction, but the great equalizer we always hoped traditional schools would be. But while we wait for that comprehensive future to fully arrive, we'll leave you with Luis's final, unforgettable call to action from his presentation. Don't wait for tomorrow. Please open your phone and go learn a language right now. Because ultimately, we really have to ask ourselves, if a digital green owl can successfully guilt us into mastering Spanish, what else could our smartphones be tricked into unlocking for humanity?